Intelligent Ramblings with your host, Bill Lofton. Co-hosted by Gary Glenn and William Howington, with help from John Cohn.
Good evening, world.
How's it going out there?
You know where I get that good morning Vietnam?
What a great
Really
movie.
liked Robin Williams. He was a amazing person, and a lot's coming out recently about how he would go to these homeless shelters while he was on set, and or when they were on break, when they were filming, and he would make sure that whenever movie he was working on, he would write it in his contract that they had to hire 10 or 15 of these folks that are homeless, and and he did this every movie, every show that he was involved in. He would make sure that the homeless were hired, and to give out the food to people, and menial jobs, but nonetheless jobs. And he was a truly amazing person. So how's everybody doing tonight?
Good.
Everybody happy?
Yeah.
Happy?
World is a
William,
cool
you
place
need
die.
to either raise your, there you go, because all we could see was you're just below your eye line, looking kind of sinister there for a minute.
Yeah. All right.
Well, one thing I heard on the news tonight that I thought was
There was a picture
hilarious.
of him online.
Was hilarious. When President Trump was asked about bombing Iran, he said, "I may do it, I may not do it. Nobody knows what I'm going to do. But Iran is in big, big trouble."
I heard that too.
I thought it was completely hilarious. I almost fell out of my chair. I was laughing so hard. Big, big trouble.
Well, definitely.
Well, they're definitely in trouble.
Nobody knows what he's going to do.
Well, we said a long time ago that the only good thing about Trump winning the election is the fact that we're going to have plenty to talk about for the next 4 years. And he hadn't let us down. You never know what this guy's going to do. Some of this stuff I really agree with and I like, and some of the stuff I'm like, what in the world is he thinking?
But he's talking about if they attack us, our bases and our people, that
No.
he will take action.
No, they're trying to convince him, and actually some people are in agreement with it and want to, including senators that are in favor of us dropping a big Bertha on top of Iran's nuclear facility that's up in the mountains. It's 300 yards straight down in a mountain. And Israel can hit it from now to Sunday, and it's not going to do any good because it's so deep. But we got those bunker busters, and we could drop one on them and end their nuclear program like that, which I really don't have a problem with.
Well, we wouldn't just drop one. We'd drop a bunch of those 30,000-pound bombs on. We wouldn't just drop one. It would take it out. That's for sure.
I'm not in favor of Iran having a nuclear weapon in any shape, form, or fashion, because you know that as soon as they get their hands on a nuclear weapon, Israel is going to cease to exist. And I think what I'm thinking is, somebody asked me, why in the world did Israel go after Iran? And what I'm thinking is they probably got some intelligence that said, hey, they're 2 weeks away from completely making a nuclear weapon in Iran. They're getting close. And Netanyahu said,
Well, Iran has been.
You
Yeah,
broke up.
Gary.
You'd like to repeat that.
What'd you say, Gary? You said Iran, and that's all we heard.
I just you were still talking. Iran has been not even clandestinely funding all of these people have been making his life miserable. Hamas, the Houthis, all these people. So they're just taking it to it. Plus, Netanyahu's been saying since the 90s that Iran was, you could say it for 30 years that Iran's been close to developing a nuclear weapon. And now I think they were getting pretty close. And they just couldn't take that chance. So that's why they did what they did. Now, whether we get involved in it or not, I don't want to get us involved in another endless Middle East conflict either. And that's the problem that you've got. But you've got like 40,000 plus of our American troops in that region right now. So there's a whole lot of things at play here. And I'm kind of glad I'm not the one trying to figure it all out.
I agree with that. I wouldn't want to have anything to do with it.
I say we drop that bunker buster on that nuclear facility.
There's probably
That'll be a declaration of war.
Yeah, there's probably a better,
That's what you
cleaner way to do that without starting a war that involves us. And
Well,
I think
that
some
would
of
definitely
what
start
is,
a war. That would have Iran declaring war on us.
yeah, it
Yeah,
would.
absolutely. Which isn't that big a deal, but they're buddies. We'd have to be fighting them. If Iran just declares war on us, that means Russia's going to get involved in it, and because that's their big buddy. China ain't going to sit this one out. They're going to be feeding troops to somebody. I just don't think that. I think war is the last answer to any question.
I wonder to myself, is this just happening because it distracts us all from something else? Are we doing all this saber rattling about Iran because something else needs to be covered up or is not going well? And I'm just throwing that out there. It's not an unheard of thing to do. It's what,
I
William?
don't think anything's going on.
Well, I think there's a lot going on that a lot of people actually don't like very much.
Well, there's demonstrations all over the place, but that's pretty much par for the course for America. If the other candidate had won, they'd be demonstrating about her. It's always something to demonstrate about.
Well, I think it's not the demonstrations themselves, it's what the people are demonstrating about. They're primarily protesting against the roundup of illegal immigrants. And that's probably not going to plan.
Oh, fuck.
And I think they being the folks in the White House are looking around going, what do we do to get people to look the other way while we try to figure this out? And saber rattling always distracts plenty of people and the media.
Well, I don't know if that's it at all, John.
I'm just throwing it out there as an idea.
I just think that Israel attacked Iran, and we're trying to figure out the pros and cons of us getting involved.
Well, I think one of the things that Israel is doing is trying to get us involved. And
That's
I don't
without
know
a
if that's a
doubt.
good thing for us or not.
That's without a doubt.
Just give Israel one of those bombs or a couple of bombs.
Hey, you got to have the aircraft to carry them.
Yeah,
They
these
don't
things
have the
weigh
aircraft?
30,000 pounds. They don't have a bomber that can deliver that thing.
Well, sell them one.
There you go. I like your enterprising spirit there, William. That's a good idea. We sell them lots of military stuff.
Yeah, we do.
We'll sell a bomber.
Well, if they drop that thing, they're going to blame us anyway. It doesn't matter if we sell it to them or if we do the actual dropping. Eric's saying, don't do that. Oh, we've got a new situation here on the Intelligent Ramblings. When somebody posts a comment, you can see it. Y'all see
It's
the comment
automatic.
down there? And it stays up here on our board. Isn't that cool?
I don't see anything. What?
Down to the bottom right of your screen, it should show.
I see something down there, but it's so small.
Put your glasses on, William.
I need to get them.
Well, if you can't see that, you need them.
I guess I do.
You know, if we can't sell them a bomber, let's just rent them one.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
Sell them the bomb.
Well, you
Tell
know,
'em.
bottom line is the only people that possess that weapon is us. And if one gets dropped, we're going to get blamed because it's our bomb. Period.
Yeah.
You know, so sell it to them, rent it to them, let them borrow it for a little while, and, you know, bring it back in dust. I do not believe there's anything positive that can come out of us getting involved in a war over in the Mideast. Period.
Agreed.
Because we'll end up fighting a lot more than Iran. And
We just exited
Yep.
Iraq
We'll
and
be,
Afghanistan.
and we'll be shouldering the lion's share of the aid.
Yep. So you don't want to spend any money, Mr. Trump. You're trying to save money. Getting us in a war is not the way to do it.
I got a newsflash for you. He's not trying to save us any money.
Oh,
Well,
I agree with that.
William thinks no. He is trying to save us money.
Well, they're trying to, you know, I've said many times that our
Well,
government is
independent-
bloated.
What? What'd you say,
What?
Gary?
Gary's lag is bad tonight. I don't know what's going on there.
I said when you have independent, I don't understand why it's that way. But when you have independent sources, and a whole bunch of them, looking at it and saying that the current budget proposals and all are going to add $2.3 trillion to the deficit, I don't see how that saves anybody.
Well, you're absolutely correct in that. And they're doing things like cutting the budget of the Forest Service and that group, which brings in $55 billion a year, and their budget is $5 billion, so they're going to cut their budget. It's like I saw on, I think it was Facebook. Why would you? That's like quitting your job to save gas. Makes no sense.
That's a good analogy.
Not guilty. That girl from Boston is not guilty. They convicted her of drunk driving. She got a year of probation, but the police department, which was trying to ramrod her into. That don't make any sense to me at all. How the guy's got dog bites all over his arm and he's all beat up.
Well, you get
Sounds
beat
like-
up pretty good when you get run over.
Well, he didn't get run over. There was no collision. There was no collision. There was no collision.
Who said?
That's what her lawyer said. There was no collision. And
Well, how'd he die?
he got beat up by somebody in that house. One of his cop buddies beat him up. Beat him so bad, and then the dog bit him. Dog tore him up too. You know, so I don't know. It's one of those things that we'll probably never know. But is anybody interested in a really tasty beef and potato soup?
You
Yeah.
have sparked my interest, sir.
What we're going to do from now on is we're going to have a certain
I would be-
time. It's at 15 minutes after 8, we're going to go directly to the Cooking with Bill, and then at 15, we're going to post it on YouTube and Facebook, but we're going to do our bits at a specific time. And that way, if you don't want to listen to me ramble on about a recipe, no problem. Tune in at 8:30 and listen to John talking economics. Oh, don't want that either. Then turn in at 8:45 and listen to Gary ramble on about his rambles, or you turn in at 8:45 and listen to William giving his sports. And that's what we're going to do. So I just thought we'd let you know that. But if everybody's in agreement, we'll go to let's take a quick commercial,
All right.
and then we'll go to Cooking with Chef Bill. Oh, part of the commercial. Thought I'd just throw this up for you right quick. Look at those neat stickers. You can take these and peel them off, and all you can see is the Intelligent Ramblings. At Intelligent Ramblings, I think it's $1.50. You can order it and get them sent to you and put that on the back of your car. That way you can tell the world that you're an intelligent person because you listen to Intelligent Ramblings. And now on to Cooking with Chef Bill. Cooking with Chef Bill. First of all, we're going to take an onion, cut it in half, slice it down the side like that, and turn it, slice it twice, and then cut it straight down to give you nice little cubes to go in your soup. Don't forget that end part. Let's do the same thing over here. Slice it down the side, turn it, slice it again, twice, and then cut it straight down. Watch out for that knife. Almost got that finger though, didn't I? Then we're going to take some garlic. We're going to break it apart by hand. Garlic, you want to break it by hand. And this webcast is brought to you by William Lofton. You mash it, it bruises it. Now we want to cut the garlic. Well, first we got to peel it. Peeling it can be a little bit persnickety. Sometimes it's hard to grab those ends and get them across, but keep going, you'll get it. Once we finally get it peeled. There it is. We're going to slice it, lay it down, slice it in half. You see the little green part? Okay, you want to get the tip of your knife and just stick it in there and pop that out of there. That makes the garlic more bitter if you leave it in there. And it pops right out. And we want to slice it, not mash it. Because mash it makes it bruised, and you don't want bruised garlic. Next, we're going to cut the meat. The reason I'm cutting the meat is you can get this meat already cubed up like that at pretty much any store, any box store, or a grocery store. But you got to be careful because they're not going to be as picky as we are. And we want to see that sinew. We want to cut that out. Makes it real chewy. We don't want chewy soup, do we? There you go. Cut them all up. Oh, here, look at that. See all that sinew? Muscle. It's not good when you take a bite of that in your soup and you go, oh my goodness, it's chewy. You can't even chew through that, actually. So just cut that off and throw that in your scrap pile. Next, we're going to add a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper. Want to spice up our meat a little bit. In a very hot pot with oil, we want to add our onions. Turn them up so they get oil all over the onions, so you don't want individual dark onions and the other ones still white. Next, we're going to add a little bit of dry thyme. About a tablespoon ought to do it. More like a teaspoon. Depends, I really like thyme, so that makes a difference for me. Once your onions start to get brown, we want to cut a hole in the middle, add about a teaspoon of oil. Then we're going to add our garlic. Make sure you get the garlic flattened out so it's got oil all over it. And stir that in with the onions. Once the onions get brown, we're going to add our meat. Stir that in real good. And we're going to let it cook. While that's cooking, we're going to cut a potato. Slice it in half. Kind of like the onion, but not quite as small. We're going to cut some cubes out of this potato. Yeah, it looks kind of green to me too. And it really was. But it came out right. Tasted real good. So ignore the greenness. Once again, be careful with that knife. Things are a lot easier to cut than potatoes. I guarantee it. Rarely push a product, but this Better Than Bouillon is the best beef bouillon I've found in a grocery store ever. It's my go-to. Well, a little of that bouillon and some water, and I'm going to throw my potatoes in there with it. That way it'll get some flavor to the potatoes while they're cooking. Don't overcook them. You want to cook them al dente, where they're a little bit crunchy, but not real crunchy. Once they're finished cooking, throw a couple of cubes in ice, so you want to cool them down, because with starches, they will keep cooking if you throw it in there while they're still warm, but if you cool them down, you'll be fine. Next, we're going to add some tomatoes to our beef. Stir that in real good. And some vegetables. You can use fresh vegetables. I'm using frozen, which worked fine for me for this product. Then we're going to add some more of that beef stock that I made out of that Better Than bouillon and water. And we're going to let it cook for about 45 minutes to an hour on low. Just a slight boil. That's all you want. Next, you want to add your potatoes, which should be cool by now to stop their cooking process, and you'll have yourself a beautiful beef and potato soup. This webcast is brought to you by William Lofton Photography. They can be found at williamlofton.com. Offering event residential portraiture at williamlofton.com.
Hi, everyone. I'm glad you're here. Let me put up a presentation. This is going to be the last Econ 101 presentation that we do tonight. I'm just going to summarize, and then we're going to talk in a very timely way about the one big, beautiful bill. Okay. Bill, I should see my presentation up there. It's not letting me go to the stage with it. Not to worry though. So what we talked about, there we go. It's just a little slow. Okay, so if you remember from the last 3 weeks, over the last 3 weeks, we've been talking about these 5 things that if you pay attention to these things, that's all you need to watch to have a good idea of what's going on in the economy. And it will help you filter out a lot of noise, a lot of headlines that aren't very helpful, and focus you on the things that are important. And the things that are important are, number 1, total output or GDP. Number 2, employment, which you look at in the initial claims for unemployment. Number 3, government policy, what is happening with fiscal and monetary policy. Number 4, inflation in the form of the CPI. Also the PCE is helpful. Number 5 is growth, so the percentage change in GDP. And finally, as we talked about last week, interest rates are important. What is the 10-year Treasury note doing? Is it going up? Is it going down? Is it trading in a range? If you watch those things, you will have a good handle on what's going on in the economy, and you'll have a good idea about where interest rates are going. Okay, so let's talk over the next 2 slides about the one big beautiful bill act. Say that 5 times really fast. Also known as the Budget Reconciliation Bill of the 119th Congress. At a high level, these 3 things are my opinion. Okay, at a high level, it has these purposes: to codify the Republican and Project 2025 social and moral policies, to facilitate mass deportation, and number 3, to reduce funding for social programs to cover tax cuts and spending. My opinion. See what you think about that. Here is a quick summary of the actual things that are in the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. This is not my opinion. These are facts. It extends parts of the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that was passed during the first Trump administration. It will raise the debt ceiling by $4 trillion. They want to raise the debt ceiling so the government does not shut down. And they need to do that sooner rather than later. It scales back the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, because it was something Joe Biden did. It doesn't matter that it was worthwhile, that it was adding jobs and economic activity in primarily Republican states. There are 17 states that were the beneficiaries of the IRA, and most of those were red states. Finally, it increases the budget for Customs and Border Protection and the Immigration and Customs Enforcement, the ICE people. Because how are you going to do mass deportations if you don't have the money? And we can talk about that in a little bit. To continue the summary, it reduces the power of federal courts to make contempt of court citations because the government lawyers are finding themselves in contempt. They are sandbagging and dodging, and they've made 2 or 3 judges pretty upset at this point, and they have been or are about to be held in contempt. It reduces SNAP or food stamps funding and availability, and finally reduces Medicaid funding and adds requirements to be able to get and keep Medicaid. These aren't my opinion. These are actual things that are part of the legislation. So, in conclusion, what's the impact of this legislation? If it gets passed over time, what's going to happen? Well, it's been estimated by more than one source that 12 million people will lose Medicaid and ACA health insurance coverage. More people will go hungry, and child poverty will increase. If you come back to this in 2 years, in 3 years, in 5 years, you will see that that point right there is the truth. The deficit will increase by $3 to $4 trillion over 10 years. Income taxes will be reduced for higher income Americans, and son of a gun, they're going to be increased for middle income Americans. My source for this is a really good, complete, objective Wikipedia article, and it's got a link at the bottom, so you can get to that if you want to. In conclusion, I'll go back to what I said at the beginning. Let me back up my slides here really quick. What this bill, the purposes of this bill are to codify social and moral policies. To make law, things that Republicans want to do and that Project 2025 directs them to do. It's going to facilitate mass deportation, and it's going to reduce funding for social programs to cover tax cuts that we talked about and spending. Okay, thank you for listening. Thanks for being here at Intelligent Ramblings. As always, visit intelligentramblings.com if you want to see these presentations and a lot of other cool stuff. All right.
This webcast is brought to you by William Lofton Photography. They can be found at williamlofton.com. Offering event residential portraiture at williamlofton.com.
Good evening. I'm Gary Glenn, and there's certain things I just don't get. I don't get the fascination for some people with different forms of entertainment that I don't like, but that's on them. But there are certain things I don't think people of good conscience can really get. I don't get the degree of hatred that exists in the Middle East. I don't get a feud between people that has lasted for thousands of years. Not hundreds, thousands of years. I just don't get it. When you would put those people side by side in a lineup and not knowing who they were, you couldn't tell them apart. But they hate each other so badly. I don't get it. I don't get the degree of individual hatred that would cause that guy up in Minnesota to go in and shoot those people, murder a couple, kill their dog, and then go looking for other people, and they got hurt as well over politics. I just don't get that. What does that think that anybody proves? Certainly doesn't prove I'm any better than you are. Well, I don't like you, so I'm going to kill you. I don't get people who try to quote the Constitution to you, and they apparently haven't read the Constitution. When you look at the Constitution, it clearly establishes in Articles 1, 2, and 3 the duties and the responsibilities of the three branches of government: Congress, the executive branch, i.e. the president, and the judicial branch. Clearly establishes those parameters. And when you look at the amendments, things like the 1st, the 5th, and the 14th amendments deal with freedom of the press, freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, deals with due process for citizens and non-citizens. The rights of the people to peaceably protest will not be abridged. Now, again, that says peaceable, not violence and threats. That is not upheld. You're not free to do everything. You're not free to yell fire in a crowded theater. You're not free to do things that hurt other people. But the Constitution, you see, is only as good, like all documents, the Constitution is only as good as the will of the people to enforce it. Now, let me say this right now. Everybody that's in power right now, beware of these precedents that you establish. Because sooner or later, the tide will likely turn, and then the other guy can use those precedents that you've established against you. You see, you can't just have it in a country our size. You can't just have it for a select group. It's got to be for everybody. I don't understand why people don't get that. I don't understand why people are bitching and pissing and moaning about illegal immigrants when they obviously allow the companies that employ these people to give them jobs. Why do you need to show up to grammar school and high school graduations with ICE raids? Why don't you go to the businesses and say, on Friday, we're going to come in and check how many of these people you have are legal or illegal. And guess what? We're going to be able to come back every day after that and check and see if these people are illegal or illegal. The people came here to better themselves and to get the jobs. There are no jobs. There's no way to make a living. There's no way to make a living. They're not here. Now, that's not to say that some illegal immigrants haven't abused the system. Of course they have. Just like people will abuse any kind of a system if you give them long enough and enough leeway. If you think that's a problem, illegal immigration, and you're part of a business that's hired a bunch of people that are undocumented, then you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. I just think that we should be better. I think that we should be able to work together and find solutions instead of kicking the can down the road. John mentioned about facilitate deportation. Take a look at how many deportations happened under Democratic presidents. That doesn't seem to get a whole lot of play these days, but millions were deported. I just think that in the land of the free and the home of the brave, we ought to be better than a bunch of fifth graders yelling insults at each other. That's my opinion and my time out. Thanks for yours. I'm Gary Glenn.
Good evening. I jumped the gun a little bit. Anyway, good evening. This is sports. The last few weeks, we talked about my favorite baseball players of the 20th century. In the first half of the century, up to 1950, was Ty Cobb and Babe Ruth. In the second half of the 20th century, it was Willie Mays, Mickey Mantle, and Hank Aaron, our Atlanta Braves own Hank Aaron. Now, this week, we're going to talk about bats and a few coaching tips towards bats. Let's take a look at batting. The bat, early bats in the 1800s were made of anything they could get their hands on, like wagon wheel spokes and axe handles. Over time, ash became the prominent wood in bats. Maple became popular, particularly in the 1990s. And that's not that long ago. I bought an ash bat in the 9th grade in 1970. I used this bat all the way into college, even though aluminum bats were becoming in vogue in the early 70s. That wooden bat lasted me, like I said, all the way into college when I played with Gainesville Junior College until Dickie Horde broke it. And I'm going to tell you why he broke it here in a few minutes. But anyway, Athens, Georgia had a bat company called the Hanna Batwright Company. The company originated in 1911. I used many Hanna bats, and you probably did too if you played baseball in Little League, if you're our age. The bat had a rivalry with the top bat selling company, the Hillrich Bradsby Company, who made the Louisville Slugger. You probably used the Louisville Slugger. My bat was a Louisville Slugger. And it was a Johnny Bench model, 33 inches. I never used the maple bat, and I'm sure they're fine. Maple became popular because it's a hard wood, and the bat seems to do a little better than ash. But it's up to you. I'm sure it's probably 50-50 in the major leagues. Remember, major leagues have to use wooden bats. A new bat company that began in a shed in the backyard of a man in 2002 who was the LSU Tigers athletic trainer, Jack Marucci, in Baton Rouge. You can tell a Marucci bat by its trademark M. I don't know if you can see that, it's in black, on the back. The new bat started just 2 years ago is the torpedo bat. 2 years ago, a New York Yankees hitting instructor asked the Yankee players what kind of bat they would like. Well, the instructor, Aaron Lienhardt, of an MIT-educated physics professor, designed the bat with an increased barrel, even though still only 31 or 32 ounces. The barrel has a disproportionate amount of weight. That means the handle has less. This led to the first new technology in bats since maple in the 90s. The bowling pin bat, or the torpedo bat, which earlier this year had a big part in a Yankees game when 5 Yankees players hit 9 home runs over a 3-game series. You probably heard about that. This was just a few weeks ago. One thing about wooden bats that they have in common is grain. Wood has grain. If you've ever cut up wood or looked at it, you notice that there's a grain. One grain on top of another until you have the wooden bat. Because of this layering, it makes the bat susceptible to breaking if you hit it against the grain. If you hit it with the grain, the bat will break. Companies place their trademark, here in this case, this is a Marucci bat, on the bat. I don't know if you can see this or not, but the grain of the wood, you can see the grain maybe. And if you look at the handle, maybe you can see it even better. If I turn this bat so the AH is pointed upward, you're supposed to grip it that way so that the trademark is facing your face. The bat disappeared. This is a magic trick as well as a spiel. Anyway, the trademark, the M in this case, would be Hilrich Bradsby. The Louisville Slugger will be towards your face. Hold the bat toward your face. Now, I want your homework assignment is to look at Major League Baseball and see how many players don't hold the grain of the bat towards their face. If you look at the Braves, Matt Olson is the biggest nemesis there. He holds his bat any which way, he just grabs it. And he breaks a lot of bats. But when you see a broken bat, see if it was caused because the bat wasn't held with the grain in check. Make sure that you hold your bat with the trademark facing you. Now you can also have it opposite you, but since you can't see the trademark, you really don't know if you have it exactly right. So the best thing is just to have it facing you. So when you go to bat, again, I've lost the bat. It's disappeared in the back of my thing. When you swing the bat, you'll hit it right, and chance of breaking the bat with the baseball is a lot less slim. Anyway, that's my instructions and knowledge for the night. Hold the bat correctly and watch on the Major League Baseball game who doesn't. That's sports for tonight. Have a good evening. I guess I'm doing finishing remarks. Well, I don't have any.
Oh.
You got finishing remarks?
There we go.
There we go. That was a major brain malfunction more than anything. What can I say? I ain't perfect, I'm just pretty. Well, no, that's true. Anyway, we're at finishing remarks, and I hope everybody's having a good week. I will not be here next week, so we will decide whether or not after we get off the show if we're going to have a show next week, but we will. I don't think that'll be a big issue. Anyway, anybody else got any other finishing remark?
Oh,
No.
I want to say congratulations to the Lofton family. Coach Jim Lofton, who coached all of us and is Bill's dad, is going to be amongst the newest inductees into the North Hall High School Athletic Hall of Fame. Well
Really?
deserved.
All right.
That's good.
It's awesome. Well deserved, I think. If for only one reason, they beat Gainesville.
Maybe
The first time in school history, and did it 2 years in a row just to put a exclamation part on it.
Man, he turned around a program and got the culture changed from a losing culture to a winning culture, which led to further coaching down the road being that way. And they've been pretty good ever since, but he started that.
Yeah, they were a perennial loser.
Oh, big time. And he started it in 1987, I think it was, wasn't it?
when Coach Lofton was coaching us at Jefferson, I remember one year we beat North Hall 51-0.
That was the game where Randall Cooper broke his leg.
Of course, quite a few years.
Yeah,
after
Randall
that.
broke his leg in that
Yeah.
game, running for a touchdown.
Yeah,
Yeah, I remember that.
Never,
That was the end of his career.
Yeah.
Yep,
Almost
compound
for his
fracture.
gymnastics
It wasn't
career.
just a break. It was nasty. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a compound fracture.
Yeah, never.
I remember it
played football after
distinctly.
that, and- yeah,
But he was still a great gymnast.
me too.
Yeah.
I was
He
actually-
still won the state championship, even though he couldn't do a full-fledged
Yes, he was.
dismount. He just kind of hopped off the reins, but he still won the state championship because of what he did beforehand. But Randall was like the fifth string running back, and he was running for a touchdown when that happened against North Hall. They were terrible back in the 70s and 80s. I remember Wanda Barra beat them 2 straight years, and that was Wanda Barra's only win. They went 1-9, 1-9.
Ow.
I know one
Well, anyway,
one game Winder
congratulations
won.
to Coach Lofton. I'm sure they'll be in touch. Yeah. All right, guys.
Well, that would be nice. I'm pleased with that. I'm sure he would enjoy that. He has got a lot of good memories at North Hall.
Yeah.
Well, they'll probably be in touch with the family, asking somebody to come up and accept the award on his behalf. It might be you.
Be cool. All right. Everybody else okay?
I think we're good.
We're doing.
All right. Everybody have a good week, and thank you for watching. And for those that watch us after later, please know that you can catch the show on YouTube again if you missed it, and you also can go to the website for some of John's work and look under the blog for the economy. And also you can look at Intelligent Food, and my recipe is already there for the beef and potato soup that we did tonight.
That made me hungry. What's some of the comments say? I can't see them really. I don't have my glasses.
It says, wow, and what maple became popular?
When did maple become popular? In
What?
the 90s.
No, yeah. Go ahead, William.
I was gonna
When
say,
did it become popular?
90, they started making maple bats, which is a harder wood than ash. But I still think people, like I said, it's about 50-50 on ash and maple.
Mm-hmm. I had
Well,
Hillridge
the
and
reason they don't
Bradsby
use-
bats.
You had a Louisville Slugger?
Yeah.
Yeah, we all pretty much did, I think.
And I couldn't hit the broadside of a
The
barn.
reason they
It wasn't the bat's fault.
Oh, yeah, I totally believe you.
Oh, I was terrible at baseball. Terrible. I mean,
The hardest thing to do in the world is hit a baseball.
Oh,
I
yeah.
couldn't hit. I couldn't hit.
Well, my
nothing.
11-year-old.
What'd you say, Gary?
My 11-year-old grandson strikes me out with regularity now. I said, my 11-year-old grandson strikes me out with regularity now. But he's a pretty good pitcher, though. And the reason they don't use metal bats in the major leagues is that's a deadly weapon in the hand of the major league.
Oh, yeah.
A slugger. Can you imagine something coming off of a metal bat after hitting a 95-mile-an-hour fastball? When I was at Georgia, well, actually, I was not at Georgia. I was covering Georgia when I was working in Athens in radio years ago. I was at Foley Field one night and saw Bo Jackson hit one into the lights with a metal bat, just like in
Oh,
the
yeah.
natural. Home run into the lights.
I believe if
Yeah,
my
you don't
brother,
want, you don't want a metal bat in the hands of.
if my brother, one of my younger brothers, was able to hit a curveball, I believe he could have gone in the major leagues. I watched him when he was in Pee Wee League, hit one out of the park, and they said it's the longest home run they've ever seen. It was amazing.
Was that Bob?
Yeah. They played some team out of Rome his senior year, and they had a kid pitching, and he was a major league prospect. They were talking about him getting drafted out of high school, and he threw a fastball to Bob in the first inning, and Bob hit it out of the park. So he could hit speed, he just couldn't hit a curve.
Yeah, it's
Kinda
hard
sunk
to hit
him.
a curveball.
That
So
kinda sunk him.
Jill wants to know, how did Dickie break the bat?
He didn't hold it right. He didn't hold the trademark towards his face.
Dang it, Coach Horde.
I know
Come
it.
on.
It cost me, like I said, I had that bat from the 9th grade all the way into like my second year of college. I don't know how many years that is. What is that? 6 years? and he broke it. We drove home. We had to drive home together, and I was really mad at him. I know I shouldn't have been over a bat, but you have something for 6 years, you kind of become attached to it.
Yeah.
Besides that, I just hit a grand slam with it at
by the way,
Gainesville College. Andy Wilkes played on that team too, Gary, your cousin. Me and Andy and Dickie. It was the last year Gainesville College had a baseball team in 1974.
Well,
by
guys,
the way, if you haven't picked up Dickie's new book, one more thing, Bill. To Live or Die in Dixie. I think Amazon's had to do a reprinting of it. So
Oh,
you
good.
need to pick it up. It's pretty
Definitely
good.
plan
It's
on
a
doing
sequel to The Missing Boys. You probably need to read them. You probably need to order The Missing Boys and then order To Live or Die in Dixie. It's really good.
Yeah, I need to read that. I've read Alone Among the Living.
sounds good. Guys, have a great
Okay.
week.
Yeah, you too.
Good night, everybody.